Well, I'm very excited to introduce our next speaker, Ashleyann. Ashleyann is Filipina born and raised in Stockton, California, and she's one of two fellows serving at the Resource Conservation District of Greater San Diego County this year. Ashleyann has been assisting with the implementation of the Regional Forest and Fire Capacity Program, and we'll talk a little bit about her work in just a minute. In addition to completing a service year, Ashleyann also wrapped up her master's in interdisciplinary studies, wildland management from Cal State Chico. It is a program where she began to understand prescribed fire and cultural burning practices and the importance of wildfire education and changing wildfire perception in the state of California. Prior to CSU Chico, Ashleyann earned a BS in physiology and a bachelor's in environmental studies with an emphasis in history of human environmental relations from UC Santa Barbara. Thank you so much, Ashleyann, and I will pass things over to you.
All right, thanks for the warm welcome, Eliza. I'll get my presentation started. Just a heads up, my presentation is going to be in a story map format. So if you're on your phone, you're kind of shit out of luck. Sorry, guys. You have to be on the computer for this one. So my name is Ashleyann Bacay, and I'll be talking about all my involvements that I've done throughout my service year here with the Resource Conservation District of Greater San Diego County as my host site. I am one of two of the GrizzlyCorps fellows serving with the Resource Conservation District. Carolina is the other fellow who's here too, done a lot of stuff together, and you'll hear from her in a couple weeks. So before I get into my actual presentation, just have to talk about my host site. My coworkers have seen this elevator pitch, so they know it, but not everyone else does. So the Resource Conservation District, I forgot to put that there, of Greater San Diego County, which I'll call RCD San Diego from here on out, because it's such a long name, is a local governmental special district focused on natural resource conservation. RCD San Diego provides resources and programs on farming, pollinator health, education, and wildfire resilience to engage and empower individuals to protect the land, wildlife, and our communities. So local governmental special districts along the lines of water conservation district, fire protection district, school district, just to get an idea of what kind of governmental it is. So to situate ourselves location-wise, there are 58 counties here in California, and there are 32 fellows located in 19 of these counties, providing service in more than 30 counties. 4 of those fellows are in Southern California. 2 of them, me and Carolina, are in San Diego County. So when people think San Diego County, they typically think coastline, the downtown area, city areas, cool communities like Hillcrest and North Park, which is mostly city of San Diego area, but most people don't really think about the unincorporated San Diego County part, which is where all the mountainous areas, forest and shrub habitat, desert, tribal lands, that's where it's all at. RCD San Diego office is located in unincorporated San Diego County, as is my apartment, noted with the star and the pin over there, respectively. So RCD San Diego sphere of influence is shown in blue, but in reality, it extends to the city areas too that aren't shown in blue, and also into the red and green areas on the map, which represent other resource conservation district boundaries. So if I could get that map to load. So the RCD San Diego has these agreements with these RCDs that allow my host site, RCD San Diego, to do work within their boundaries. I just want to show that map, but I don't think it's going to load. So I'm going to move on. So RCD does a lot of work in San Diego County, but the original lands of this county belongs to 4 different cultural linguistic tribal groups, which are the Lispeño, the Cahuilla, the Cupeño, and the Kumeyaay, which is with the northern Ipa and southern Ipa here. These groups have populated the region. Did my map disappear? Okay. Well,
Looks like it's loading.
Okay, thanks, Joel. So I guess I'll just continue talking through that then. These groups have populated this region for more than 10,000 years, which kind of need that map for reference. But within these 4 tribal groups in California, Sorry, I just gotta wait for the map to load. It's a little annoying. But I think I'll just kind of go on my spiel. So within those 4 tribal groups that you saw on that map, hopefully there are 17 federally recognized Indian tribes in California within those tribal groups. There are 18 reservations located in San Diego County also, which 17 tribes, 18 tribal reservations are the most tribes and reservations in any county in the United States, just as a reference. But these reservations also cover more than 127,000 acres in San Diego County region, which is about 4% of the region's land base, which is still a lot of land. And a lot of those tribes are looking to return fire, cultural burning to their land in traditional ways, which is one topic I'm highlighting in one of the primary activities I've done through this fellowship. So one of the main tasks that I worked on throughout this fellowship was continuing research into the concept of a prescribed burn association. I'm trying to figure out why my map's not loading. Is it okay if I turn off my video? I'm not sure if that'll help. Never mind. So kind of wish you guys could see the map, but prescribed burn associations are pretty well established in the Central Coast, North Coast, and North State areas of California, which is where I was first exposed to the concept of a prescribed burn association as a graduate student at Chico State. And I wasn't aware of the presence or lack of prescribed burn associations in the southern part of the state until this fellowship position. So the idea of forming the San Diego Prescribed Burn Association was initially pursued by my coworker, Stan Hill, in which the Prescribed Burn Association would have tribal interests in the forefront of formation and implementation efforts. And a lot of these tribes want to be able to practice cultural burning, which is a very worthwhile and awesome goal, but it can be pretty difficult to navigate the governmental entities need to get approval on those burns, especially if you're trying to burn on federal tribal land. So much of what I've been doing for this research is reading through a lot of online documents to familiarize myself with information about the tribes here, San Diego in general, land jurisdiction and responsibility areas, policy, legislation, and I think the most exciting being having conversations with the folks directly involved in prescribed fire and cultural burning, whether that's on the ground or involved with the documentation process. So because I gathered and synthesized so much information from just these tasks alone, I haven't even mentioned everything I've done in detail. And because the documentation process itself it's another beast that deserves its own presentation, I created a separate story map here. Pretty sure you could at least see my cursor. So I have a separate story map describing the need for a prescribed burn association in San Diego County. And it also helps to walk through the similarities and differences in documentation required to conduct a prescribed burn on tribal trust land versus tribal fee land. And if you do decide to click that, I'll put the link in the chat afterward. Just a heads up, it's a lot of information and it's not even complete yet. And I also wrote a blog post detailing the research process and more fellowship reflections if you really want to hear more past this presentation. So the concept of the Prescribed Burn Association, among other activities I'll discuss, all fall under this big umbrella of another big program, statewide program called the Regional Forest and Fire Capacity Program, which is this wildfire resilience effort through the California Natural Resources Agency, of which RCD San Diego, who is my host site, is one of the Southern California regional block grantees. So as a regional block grantee for the Regional Forest and Fire Capacity Program, RCD San Diego is expected to partner across the county region to identify priorities, develop projects, and increase capacity. Partnerships for this program include those with the state, federal, tribal, and local governments, as well as water agencies, other resource conservation districts, nonprofits, and fire safe councils. So one of the main tasks that I helped with for this program involved partner outreach to collect data about any wildfire and forestry projects going on in the county through our partners, whether in progress, conceptual, or planned for the future. The data for these projects was collected, organized, categorized, and then mapped to show the category and location of these projects throughout the county. So the map shows project data collected from, I'd say, September through December. And I'd imagine there's a lot more to add on the map now, but it's cool to be able to figure out which projects are going on where in the county just from this map alone. And there are also a lot of other cool projects I help to assist with and learn from, such as the Native American Conservation Corps, which is this, it's a really cool program that provides youth from local tribes training, knowledge, and on-the-job experience to access careers in forest management and wildland fire, whether in their own communities or with local agencies. And there's also the golden spotted oak borer, which is an invasive pest contributing to ongoing oak tree mortality in many areas of San Diego County. And all of this is mentioned in better detail in the regional priority plan that my host details all of the activities that we do in fostering partnerships, capacity building, and project highlights through this regional forest and fire capacity program. But for the sake of being annoyed with the maps loading and sake of time, I'm going to continue on and discuss more work that I did with the Fire Safe Council of San Diego County. So the Fire Safe Council of San Diego County, which is a sister entity to RCD San Diego, oversees a little more than 40 individual community fire safe councils, which all their little boundaries and area they cover are shown here in this map. And just as a reference, some counties have anywhere from maybe 0 to 4 fire safe councils in each county. So knowing how large a county is and how geographically and habitat diversity and or diverse the landscapes are here, it makes sense for San Diego County to have as many fire safe councils as it does. So because there are 40 fire safe councils in San Diego County, there was plenty of opportunities to provide support for fire safe council related tasks and events occurring in different communities that advocate for the work of the fire safe council, such as wildland urban interface workshops, tabling at events. This is from the Wildfire and Forestry Task Force meeting. I think some of the fellows here are more familiar with that. Last chance survival simulation workshops, which are more tailored toward the communities where they're held out in case fire comes and you have to figure out what you're doing the very last second. Help to support at a legislative walk at the Sacramento Capitol for the fire safe councils. And this group here just shows some of the volunteers that actually do the work for these community and volunteer-led fire safe councils. Lots of cool work here through the RCD San Diego. So that was kind of a lot for just primary tasks, but I did do a couple additional things, help to support the agriculture team, but I'd say that's mostly event support for pollinator focused events. And you'll see a couple of pictures here from tabling, field trip assistance at the RCD's educational farm, pollinator week hike support, where Caroline and I made this really cool pollinator and wildfire booklet to supplement one of these hikes. And it's also nice to be outside considering most of my work's behind the computer. And GrizzlyCorps also allowed us to do these, have some hours set aside for external trainings, which most of my external trainings were either in-person workshops, such as this California Environmental Quality Act, or learning about cultural burning through the California Indian Basket Weavers Association. Lots of trainings are behind the laptop screen. You see Caroline and Devo here, or on my phone through learning Spanish through Duolingo and Pimsleur. Toastmasters also deserves a special shout out too, which helps with public speaking. Well, it's helped me out at least. So moving on to that, my next chapter is I'm going to be working at DUDEC in this position where I'll be working with landowners and land management agencies to evaluate wildfire hazard and develop plans to mitigate wildfire risk. This position seems like a great way to build upon research skills, data analyses, map making, statistical analyses methods I picked up in grad school and prior work experience, but there's also transferability and some of the work I've done through this fellowship, mainly regarding information for community wildfire protection plans and creating maps through ArcGIS software and creation of story maps, which is what this presentation technically is. It's a story map, but I swear the maps look nice. Kind of annoyed all the maps didn't load. Anyway, grateful for this fellowship for exposing me to all topics wildfire and forestry related, since most of my prior background like Eliza said, came from prescribed fire and cultural burning through my master's program. So very thankful for my team at RCD San Diego for being a great and passionate bunch to interact with during this service year. So I don't have everyone in these pictures, but I'm very grateful for all of you. I'm also thankful for all the support of the GrizzlyCorps staff, Eliza, Michelle, Jasmine, for all the resources and time set aside to make this fellowship the learning experience that it is supposed to be. Fellows for the online support. It's really cool to see some of the fellows in person too, to cross paths in person and also with some people from Chico State. Super cool. And I'm especially grateful for this fellowship in helping me create a lot of beautiful connections and friendships with folks here in San Diego, in the San Diego area. So looking forward to continuing building those relationships and advocating for the work of RCD San Diego and the GrizzlyCorps program. So I'm looking forward to listening to everyone else's presentations and hopefully seeing you all at our graduation trip and taking an updated picture where I could commit to the full dab. Thanks for listening, guys.
Well, that was absolutely amazing, Ashleyann. I think definitely one of the more creative presentations we've had, so I love it. We have a few minutes for questions, so if anyone has questions, comments, congratulations, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand or put something in the chat. And it looks like Ashleyann also put the story maps into the chat, so I highly recommend you all check that out.
I have a question. So we work a lot with the Fire Safe Council up here in Trinity County, and it covers the whole county. And I had learned, I can't remember if it was through you, Ashleyann, like a couple months ago, that San Diego has that interesting model of however many fire safe councils you said. It's like, how does that work? Like how are those boundaries drawn? And why do they focus on like such small areas versus the whole county, for example?
Oh man, I think that is more of a Morgan question than it is an Ashleyann question. So I might have to defer you to Morgan, who is definitely in this in this call.
Sure, I'll chime in. I mean, Ashleyann was really helpful with the mapping and updates for our Fire Safe Council. She's always been so great with GIS and has those skills that I don't. But our local fire agencies, their boundaries align with our local Fire Safe Council. So it streamlines our CWPP process and makes sure that all the partners are working together in the regions that they do. We also think that taking that local approach allows for the community members who know their communities best to implement work where they live. And so it's the local knowledge, getting work on the ground, the priorities of neighbors, kind of helping neighbors approach. But if you ever want to learn more, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to chat with you about it. And I'm the county coordinator for our 40-ish fire safe councils here.
Well, thanks so much, Ashleyann. That was, again, absolutely amazing. You have huge amounts of appreciation in the chat, so I recommend you read through all of that. And yeah, as Ashleyann mentioned, there's a second GrizzlyCorps fellow at the RCD, so tune in a couple weeks for Carolina's presentation. But mostly thank you, and yeah, I very much look forward to seeing a dab hopefully on one of the rafts at graduation in a couple weeks. So thank you. We're going to end this presentation. We'll start the next one in just a minute.